Well folks, Bruce here from the Coasters Club, and today I'm with Andrew Robb. And Andrew was good enough to accept the offer that we made to every candidate on the coast to do a free interview and put a post up. So Andrew, thanks so much for accepting the offer for a kick-off. And I guess probably the best place to start is, how about telling us a bit about yourself?
Okay, well, thanks Bruce for actually giving us the opportunity to do this. It's great, and I've seen a bit of your Coasters page, and I think it's a great thing for the West Coast. So thanks for the opportunity. A little bit about myself. I was born in the Waikato, moved here with my family when I was 5 years old. Grew up in Taramacau settlement, which is part of the Grey District, and lived there for a fair chunk of my life. Went to boarding school in Christchurch because there was no school bus into town at the time. Yeah. Got beaten into shape over there for 5 years, and then moved back here. Worked for Dad for a couple of years on his dairy farm. Then I moved away for a couple of years, where I met my wife Michelle, and Michelle's from Westport. She moved back here, and we took up. We joined the farming business about in the late 1980s, and since then I've moved into town to Coal Creek here, where we developed our dairy farm. We've had 3 kids together. They're all pretty much grown up now. The last one's going to be leaving school at the end of this year, and he's actually going to be working here in Greymouth, so it's good to have one of them back on the coast.
Actually, it's a miracle.
It is.
Now, you've had obviously considerable experience at regional council, a difficult, like hospital boards, very difficult. How have you found it?
Oh, it's challenging at the time, and I think one of the biggest challenges we face with the regional council is often the central government policies that we have to give direction to, and I guess in terms of the environmental stuff, we have to enforce some things that sometimes don't go down that well, but also there's been some really positive things I think that we've done with the regional council, particularly working with the other councils.
It's gone really well, and the thing that I always enjoy reading is the water quality results from the West Coast compared with anywhere else in New Zealand.
Yep.
It's fantastic. I mean, people don't realise.
Yep. Well, I think one of the things that we've achieved in the time I've been on council is the Lake Brunner. We had to bring in some new rules there because the Lake Brunner water quality was declining. We worked with the farmers. We came up with some really good solutions, and within a quicker time frame than what we initially budgeted for, we got improving water quality. So we've done some really great things, and I think you talk about the water quality and the focus on that in New Zealand at the moment, and the government have just brought out these new freshwater guidelines that they want to bring out for the country, and the West Coast, other than a few things, particularly around probably some compliance things, but the West Coast is sitting pretty well, and we aren't having the impact on our water quality that other regions are.
Yeah, well, we certainly get enough of it, don't we?
We do.
Now tell me, Andrew, let's move on to Greymouth, and I'm familiar with Greymouth. I was born here, and it just occurred to me that Michelle's from Buller, so am I, and when if Jamie Klein gets elected up in Buller there, Buller will have control of the coast. It'll be great.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it, Bruce. But I can assure you the Buller West Coast rivalry between our family is alive and well, and my kids always wind their mother up because they were born in the Grey District, but it's great, and her father was a well-known Buller rugby identity, and so it's great that rivalry's there, but I think we work pretty well together, don't we?
Yes, I agree there. Now, what are the opportunities for, what do you see? Because taking the step from regional brings a huge amount of experience into the new role. What do you see as going forward for Greymouth? The opportunities more than the challenges.
Yeah, well, look, I think there's, obviously tourism is something that is front in mind at the moment, and I see that still growing, and I think Greymouth's got an opportunity, or the Grey District's got an opportunity to tap into that. Probably a little bit different to some of the other areas of the coast. Like, we've got a lot of service industries. I know I've talked to a few businesses around the town that are doing well because of tourism, and they're not what you traditionally think might do well, but like panel beaters, car mechanics and things like that are servicing the vehicles that are being used for the tourists. So there's, those people are starting to think out of the square and look at new opportunities. Sports shops, bike shops, providing bikes for the cycleways and tour groups and things like that. So there are opportunities there. I think I don't want to bore people, but I think the dairy industry, with the recent purchase or sale of the company to Illy, there's opportunities, particularly probably in Hokitika. I think they'll expand that factory because they want to produce more value-add products. But the spin-off for Greymouth and the Grey District is that there's a lot of service industries in the town that will provide services to that company. So, and again, the injection of the capital into the farming industry from that sale, you'll see in like 6 to 8 months' time that farmers will start catching up on maintenance, and there'll be money spent. So I think there's some real opportunities there for us.
Now, Greymouth's a very, very good service centre, and there are towns like Hokitika, which obviously I'm familiar with, where all of our engineering work, everything's done in Greymouth, and that seems to make a lot of sense. It seems to be working well. And is that an area that can be expanded on?
Well, I think we just need to provide the Grey District needs to provide the right sort of policy and framework for those businesses to thrive, because, as you say, they're good businesses. They provide good services, and they provide good opportunities for employees, and also they are actually well thought of right around New Zealand in terms of their capability. So we need to encourage them to keep building and give them, the council's role is to make sure that they're not being bungled up by red tape and just nonsense, really.
The hospital board, probably just about the biggest employer. I read somewhere where there's 1,800 people now employed by the West Coast Hospital Board. Fantastic. And a new hospital, which they tell me is funded well outside of everybody else's average in New Zealand. So you're looking forward, I guess, 2020 opening, something like that?
Yeah, that'll be great for the coast. It's a new modern facility where I think you talk about the size of it, the capability of it and its funding, and I think the government have potentially recognised, we've got a lot of tourists that come through here, so there's a need for that. And just while we're on the health sector, I'll just there's another positive story with the health sector. My wife Michelle is involved in, it used to be called the High Street Medical Centre, it's now called Coastal Health Centre, I think they're calling themselves.
Right.
They're just about to move into new premises, purposely built for their practice.
Is that on High Street?
It's going to be on Cowper Street.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right next door to the new Naitahu PF Olsen building.
Oh, is that what's going in there?
So that's one of the buildings that's going in there, and they're the only private medical practice in Greymouth. The others are all serviced by the DHB, and they took on that business a few years ago. It was a bit of a struggle, but five women from Greymouth decided they were going to buy the practice. They employ the doctors, and I think it's a great story for this town that people have, they do that service for this town.
Sounds like a good model too, doesn't it?
Oh, it's great, and they, it's not the easiest business to work in, but they're passionate about the people that they serve, and they do a great job.
I'm staggered when I wander around Greymouth, which I do quite often. You look at places like Westland Workgear, where it's expanded, and they tell me that 5% of their product is sold on the coast, and the rest goes all around New Zealand. What an amazing business.
Well, that's just great that people are able to do those sort of and operate those sort of businesses in our district. And you know, you had the Delacar family that used to do that from Westport.
Yeah, true.
And you know, there's some visionary people on the West Coast, and we just need to provide the framework that those people can do their business here.
So what about how will you handle it when issues come up like the shock of the Waitaha being turned down? What do we do? Do we roll over and go with it, or what is the way forward in your mind?
No, we certainly don't roll over. I've stated publicly my disappointment for that process. I think when you look back on my term as chairman of the regional council, and you know, we work at mayors and chairs on ways we can lobby and approach government. We've all had different styles, and we all do it in a different way, but I think we've taken a team approach and worked well together, and I certainly think we need to do that into the future. A team is made up of a whole lot of parts, and we all should approach, use our skills that we have to approach the government in different ways. One of the things that I've been probably built up over my 6 years as chairman is some contacts and connections, and I think it's really important that you use them, but also there are times when you actually need to really publicly state what your position is on things and put some pressure on people that are making the decisions.
Yeah, you're right about the contacts, because having the ability to pick up the phone and know that you're talking to the organ grinder instead of the monkey is really important, isn't it?
Yep, if you can, if you've got connections to the people that are making the decisions, and they've got a bit of respect for you or some respect for you, you'll have some influence over them. You're not going to change everything, but there's different ways of exerting pressure, and I think I think it's that team approach.
Right, so let's assume that on the 12th of October you get the phone call and you're the Mayor of Greymouth. What's the first 3 years going to bring under your leadership? Because as Mayor, you become the leader of the people and the leader of your councillors. So what direction are you going to push them in?
So I guess the first thing is, I guess there's quite a few challenges facing the Grey District in terms of there's a whole new leadership in the council. The chief executive of 25 years is leaving, so I think it's important that there is strong leadership at the top, and that we appoint the right person in that role. So that's the first one, is to get that right, because in terms of our strategy and vision for the future, it is really important that we get the right person to deliver that. The second one is actually with the new council, set out a strategy and vision for that 3 years, and make sure that we're all on the same page. Not everyone's going to agree with it, but that we get a council that agrees to some certain things that we want to do and get out there. And the other thing that I really want to do in the first probably year is try and touch base with a lot of people in the community, and by myself as mayor, if I was lucky enough to be the elected person, I would go out with the councillors from each constituency within the district and meet as many people as I can and hear what is really important to them. But what I would really like to see is a council that is focused on delivering its services with a smile on its face and in a timely manner, so that businesses in our community can, when they are trying to do things within their whatever it is, if it's a building consent or whatever, that they are treated well, and that they get their business done in a timely fashion.
Well, it's very hard to argue with that. It's a fantastic objective. And Andrew, is there anything else you'd like to add? There's no time pressure here. And anything else you'd like to add before we?
I guess just one thing I think is I think in terms of collaboration and things that we've done together, and things that some of the things that I've worked on with the other councils. We've got a really high performing civil defence unit. We've got the Regional Transport Committee, which I've chaired for the last 6 years, has achieved some pretty amazing things in the last 6 years. Bruce has been part of that as well. We've had the Taramacau replacement of the Taramacau Bridge. We've had the Minga Bluff to Arthur's Pass upgrade, and the Ahara Bridge is going to be started soon. So they're some pretty big projects that have been brought in by, advocated for by the Regional Transport Committee, and actually come in probably outside of the normal work. So that, that's one thing. The last thing I'd like to do is actually pay a bit of a tribute to Tony Coxon. I think he has done a remarkable job for our district and our region. He's a guy that you have to have your jacket on, or you have to have the capability to debate with him if you want to debate with him. Tony and I have had a couple of pretty good debates over a few issues, but the thing I really like about Tony is he never takes it personally, and he's doing it for the right reasons. So I wish him well in his retirement. I think he can retire in knowing that he has done everything he can for his district and his region.
Yeah, he's amazing. None of us will ever be able to achieve what he has. I don't think we'll see anyone meet the fundraising ability the man's got. He's awesome. And but look, I guess to all of those in the Grey District that are watching this video, this is Andrew Robb. Many of you will know him by name. Most of you won't know him individually because you simply can't meet everybody. You've had some great thoughts there from him in relation to direction. He's standing for the position of Mayor for Grey District in the 2019 local body elections. And Andrew, absolute best of luck.